Hi, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
How are you?
Not too bad, thank you.
And welcome to our program.
Thank you so much.
It's a great privilege to have you. So first of all, would like to you tell us about why you came to Sri Lanka, what are you doing here, and of course your boxing.
Sure,
background.
naturally. We came to Sri Lanka in December 2021, so this is basically our third year here already. Initially we came as tourists, and I was switching between jobs, and we were actually also thinking about maybe, spending 5 to 6 months in other country, to explore other opportunities, kind of telework and whatnot. And then basically the war started, so we kind of, stayed here. I was also switching between jobs, got basically my telework passports from the headquarters and stuff like that. And at that point we basically started living in Sri Lanka. We liked it so much. It's a beautiful, vibrant country. My wife set up a business here. She opened this small clothing shop a few months ago, and initially she started basically collaborating with local tailors and designers to make clothes. And then we got our company registered, got everything done by the book, got our resident visas in. I enrolled my daughter in a local international school. That's how it all started. And that's how we ended up here.
So you're from Ukraine, no? So what is the boxing background you have there?
Yes, I'm originally from Ukraine. Started out doing boxing at around age of 11. So I'm 46 now. Been doing it for 35 years. Like I said, once you're in boxing, it kind of stays with you. It becomes sort of a way of life. Unfortunately, boxing's never been a moneymaker for me, and I haven't been able to achieve extraordinary accolades on any Olympic international level, but I have a solid boxing background in Ukraine from participating in local city level tournaments. When I was a student back in 2002, I won a Kiev City Championship as a cruiserweight. That was actually my last fight as an amateur. That qualified me for the particular boxing rank, and I was also training people intermittently on various levels. Back in 1994, I went to the United States as an exchange student and spent a year there. I was also training there, kinda boxing, not on the national Golden Glove level, but I got basically the unique opportunity to kind of see how it's done in the United States versus the Soviet Union kind of approach to it, and came back and actually continued training in Ukraine afterwards, and then coaching. So that's.
So you're a master.
Yes,
master of the sport.
Master of sports. Basically, once you win a national level tournament, basically you become a champion of a big city. They bestow this title upon you. I mean, this is not the highest title you can achieve in boxing by far. There are an esteemed master of sports for national level. It's basically when you're competing outside of Ukraine, you're competing on the Olympic level. But for basically an amateur hobbyist level, master of sports is probably the highest ranking you can achieve. And then you have to make up your mind and decide whether you want to go pro, and stuff, or you just gonna do something else and continue as a hobbyist.
So what is you said there's a different style between Ukraine and Russian style and American style. What do you see the difference in your opinion?
Old Soviet style. It was basically spread around across all former 15 republics of the Soviet Union, and you can see the same trend there. So Soviet style is more you're shuttling, it's kinda you continue you do pendulum, and you throw really powerful shots when it comes to long range, long distance and stuff. And my personal observation, if you look like guys like Dmitry Bivol, other stuff who are really achieved professional champions right now. Russian style or Ukrainian style, or however you want to call it, basically Soviet style, it pays up long range, because that's what delivers this kind of the real 2 or 3 punch combos. Pom pom, you do like 1 2 1 2 3 basically, and the opponent goes down. But for the phone booth boxing, the close range, when it comes down to crunch time, and stuff, I believe American and Mexican schools, they have their advantages there, because Soviet style is kind of because of the footwork, it's a little limited when it comes down to throwing multiple combos, and kind of fluidity also suffers from it. So when you combine the old Soviet boxing technique for the long range with the phone booth boxing, kind of, all in Mike Tyson kind of, Chavez kind of type of boxing technique, and stuff, I think it really kind of becomes a really powerful kind of, instrument. And if you kind of teach it, that becomes, really beneficial for whoever tries to master it.
Coming back to Sri Lanka, how did you sort of get involved in the boxing scene here? Start boxing here.
The boxing scene here, yeah. Thank you. It's a very good question, actually. It's a funny story, because I started looking for opportunities to actually train, so to train, to kind of do boxing myself, go back into shape and whatnot. Because I had to take like, 6 month or 7 month break, and stuff. And when things started getting back to normal for us, when we eventually got, settled in here, got our resident visas in, I found out about a small sports club in Lionnation, run by half Sri Lankan, half Swedish guy here, who came back from Sweden to claim his Sri Lankan heritage, and he's been living here right now ever since. He's a really good guy, and stuff. So we kind of started. I started working out there, and on the day it came to sparring, he actually, because he was my teacher basically, and after the sparring sessions, he's like, "Hey, Slava, do you want to kind of help me out sometimes and train here?" I'm like, I mean, I can't really kind of do this kind of, in Sri Lanka, I can't really work in that field. But he said, no, if you kind of do it like, habitually, just help me out. And I was like, fine, okay, I'm just gonna start helping you out, as I start training people boxing. So he started taking part of like the fitness part of it, and I started taking part of the boxing part of it. And people started kind of coming in. It was, I really liked it. Like, we were doing it on the old villa. Basically, we had a lot of young kids from local community, young Sri Lankan kids who were coming in, and I noticed that they have, because down south, like sweet science hasn't been very popular down south here. Muay Thai for the most part. Some of them were like really good Muay Thai athletes and whatnot. Others were just extremely. They had good endurance, like athleticism is there, but they were lacking a little bit of skill, and stuff, a little bit of that elbow grease that turns you into a fighter. And I started seeing that kind of, if you tell them something, they really pick it up fast, and you can see like genuine interest. So, and after that, basically, the word got spread around, I met some people, kind of, started going to like other clubs, so started talking to people. Shout out goes to Coach Tips and Sri Lanka Boxing Academy. They actually had me over there for a small seminar. And I noticed that people are actually really eager to learn here, and boxing, classical boxing, it's still on the map, and whatnot. So basically that's how it started, and then by virtue of an incident, I hooked up with Matt and James, the guys who operate the Makaya Fitness kind of CrossFit gym / club in Unawatuna, and they said, hey, won't you come over and start getting training people here? I'm like, yeah, let's do this. So that's how it all started.
So then you recently took part in that, your boxers took part in Fight Night in Combat by Jish.
Oh yeah, thanks for Kira and Jish, wonderful people, great opportunity, nicely organized event. When we were approached basically and said, hey, do your partners, we know you have some kind of people who are staying either as tourists, or residents who are training there, do any of them want to participate? So I kind of did a roll call, and like Oleg and Devin, they immediately agreed, and they said, yeah, that would be like a great opportunity for us. So yeah, we decided to participate, and people were helping us out. I really kind of got to experience the camaraderie, you know, that comes from like, you know, the martial arts and like boxing community here, because people were like helping each other in every step, you know. I don't know, exchanging phone numbers, you know, like equipment, stuff like that, you know, because, you know, it's not a secret that things sometimes can get tight because of like shortages and like, you know, import restrictions. So people kind of share, you know, the equipment, punching pads, you know, and stuff like headgear, stuff like that. So yeah, and whoever could come in as a tourist basically would bring something, you know, and but like I said, it was an excellent tournament, and we appreciate the opportunity, you know, and we look forward, if we get invited to participate more, we have nothing but gratitude, and we'll do that with pleasure.
Do you think combat sports, particularly boxing, is very huge here in Sri Lanka? What do you see?
Initially, I didn't notice that because, like I said, we're not living in Colombo, so
Yes.
I was getting the impression that boxing is not getting due attention here down south, like, because I know there are some clubs in Madara, you know, and stuff, and like also from what I noticed, people are doing it here on like college or school level.
Yes, sir.
On that side. In Ukraine, it's a little different because in Ukraine, basically boxing is as popular as cricket. So everybody does. We have a saying there: you either do boxing or judo, or you get your ass whooped in high school. You know, so that's basically a thing. So it's very competitive, just like cricket here, because everybody plays it. Like in every basically backyard, there is some sort of arena with like people sparring, kind of, you know, doing that stuff. Like, you know, people brawl in backyards all the time because kind of, you know, it's basically sort of, I don't know, a culture of pugilism or whatever you can call it. And people start training early on, you know. That's the reason why some of the best boxers, you know, are some of the top tier boxers are from that part of the world.
Yes.
So I think Sri Lankan people have every potential to actually become world-renowned boxers. The only problem here is that I think from what I noticed is the lack of opportunity for people, because people kind of have to work hard, you know, all the time. So, and if you really want to achieve something in boxing, you have to train, hell, 6 times a week, 2 times a day, you know, and stuff. And you have to dedicate your life to it. I mean, you know about this because you've trained yourself, you know, you've been a coach. It's just, I think, you know, the resources that people have versus what they can achieve, you know. But the enthusiasm is remarkable. Like I said, the people are really liking it. You start teaching like a 7-year-old Sri Lankan kid how to throw a punch, he immediately picks it up. You know, he or she they immediately pick it up. You can see like how the eyes light up, you know, and stuff like that. And that's really rewarding.
So what is the ideal age to start, like, all this?
The best age to start boxing, I think it's 10, 11 years old, even 13. I don't really like when kind of, you know, people make their kids start at the age of 6, because, you know, your tendons, your joints, they're not kind of, you know, fully developed right now, and all of those traumas, you know, they come from starting at the early stage. I think you should kind of do swimming, gymnastics, whatever, before you start boxing, just to give yourself kind of a bit of a build-up for the body, you know. And then at the age of maybe 11, 12, you should kind of, you know, segue into it, because it's going to take you about 2 or 3 years to actually master kind of, you know, the techniques, the basics, and then kind of start boxing competitively if that's what you want to do. That's my take on it.
There are sports schools in Ukraine, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
so do they have a system of where children start from a young age?
Yes, there is a system basically where if you are showing signs of promising talent, you know, and stuff, the government will pay for your education. So you will, it's sort of like a boarding school where you have to stay 5 times a day. You can either, if you live in the same town, you can go back to your home and sleep at home, but you come back to school every morning. Sort of like a military school, basically, just with a sport twist. See what I'm saying? And there are also bunk beds for like people from the villages, you know, and stuff, who can actually, their kids can kind of spend the whole week there and just travel back home for the weekend and whatnot. And it depends. Every big city in Ukraine basically has at least one of those, you know. Some of them are specifically dedicated to combat sports, others focus on swimming, gymnastics, but in totality, this is like a big setup with Olympic-sized pool, you know, standard ring, kind of the tatami for like wrestlers, you know, and stuff like that. So basically, and it's all funded by the government from the Olympic Committee, because what these young boys and girls are called they're called Olympic reserves, and in parallel to their training, they're getting a full kind of standard school education curriculum.
So like now Ukraine is famous for producing many world champion boxers, and even the world heavyweight champion is from Ukraine now. How does it how do they manage to do so consistently? I mean, produce so many world champions.
It's basically, because you know better than I do as a coach and referee. It's talent is only 5% that will get you there, but you have to have 120%, and it's basically a hard work.
But for this, you have to be a full-time professional. Like they have to be occupied full-time for boxing, right? So which may not be possible in Sri Lanka, except for the forces, people in the boxers in the forces. So what do you suggest? Like, I mean, how can Sri Lanka develop something in between to go forward?
It's hard for me to suggest again because during these tournaments and during the past tournaments, I've actually noticed some good kind of techniques going on, and I can see basically there was a solid base kind of school for pugilism here too. But so I don't want to kind of sound like I'm trying to clean someone else's backyard and whatnot. See what I'm saying? Because I have a lot of respect. I know there are some people like the Sri Lankan fighters are doing good on like Pan Asia tournaments, in Dubai and whatnot. So I have every respect for that. I just think the little suggestion is to maybe, but again, that requires funding. If not taking the boxers outside of Sri Lanka to punch, to kind of, to go against, other fighters from all over the world, but try to bring more people here, as let's say, I don't know, athletic tourism and whatnot, where people can kind of come over here for like some sort of an excursion tour, and then do like about 8 or 10 days in a boot camp with like Sri Lankan fighters, where everyone can go against everyone. The clear benefit of that is you A, become better, B, you shape those connections that kind of stay there, because people become friends, so they start exchanging kind of, I have friends from all over the world. I can write to my homeboy in New Zealand, like, he's currently coaching in Bali, and stuff. I can write to like this guy, that guy, and stuff. We will have like a group chat and whatnot, and I'll be like, hey guys, if you're in Sri Lanka, come and visit me, let's kind of, reminisce about good old days, spar a little bit or something. It's like, yeah, we'll whoop your ass. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm old. Kind of that type of stuff. So that thing kind of, it ensures a progress, A, and B, it kind of builds that connection to let people know that you are there. See what I'm saying? And it's gonna put Sri Lanka on the map. That's just my kind of take on it. But yeah, that would require some initial funding, at least with the equipment purchase with. Because what I noticed, people here, if you're like an athlete, basically you have to fund yourself. You have to buy your gloves, you have to buy your boots, you have to buy kind of mouthpiece, the headgear, and the Rus is not necessarily the best place. Sometimes they don't have the good selection. So, and Decathlon, I heard there was a Decathlon here, but it closed down. Decathlon store.
Yeah, they have stores.
And Decathlon store is basically like this #1 store by all over Europe. If you want like a cheap but really reliable gloves that cost around $19, like 5,000 rupees basically. You just go over there and you get like decent gloves for that price. And I mean, Decathlon is basically a place where you get all the gear. Unless you want to get some like expensive Hayabusa or like Everlast. Get yourself suited up for like international competition. But like I said, and that's the reason why like separate shout out goes to people like Jish, who basically pull it off in like elbow grease and sheer enthusiasm, and stuff. I think that's admirable, and these guys deserve a round of applause.
Yes. And that what they're doing for white collar boxing or white corporates to get involved in the sport. Maybe boxing can be developed in Sri Lanka by having more of these corporate level competitions, is it?
Sure, absolutely, and I think it will be extremely beneficial. You mentioned the white collar boxing, because basically in Ukraine and whatnot, there is an abundance of like private sports club where people can take the suit off, like put some gloves, and stuff, and have a proper workout after the the full work day in the office, and stuff. That will kind of shake you down a little bit, put you back in condition. And boxing is a great sport in terms of keeping you up in shape. It's not gonna help you build a lot of muscle, gonna make you all bulked up like a bodybuilder. It's not, but it will generally kind of, keep your body in tonus. It will kind of, normalize your blood pressure. You don't have to get punched in the head heavily, like all the time. That's what I'm telling like all the people during the workouts. Hey, we're not here to basically hurt our opponents. We're here to have some fun and learn something, So if you want to go a little harder, go a little harder. If you want to take it easy, just don't pet your opponent, but throw those hands in, but don't kind of, be cognizant that people want to leave this kind of room with their teeth, and I don't want to go to jail, take responsibility for anything that happens here. So this, and I just keep telling, and I think that kind of approach kind of can create the environment that will put boxing back on the map here, and stuff, and maybe attract some wealthier paying clientele, so to say. I'm trying to carefully choose the words, but I can't. I don't. Again, yeah.
I just want to ask about this now. The International Boxing Association also is moving towards professionalism, like having champions nights and all that. So, what is your take on that? Like, you think?
I think there was a lot of grudge from like old school people who kind of would be like, well, the boxing should always be like amateur, And I think the boxing, like the essence of boxing, where we're going to like this, I don't know, old school Jack Dempsey kind of, those guys, and stuff. There were no amateur boxing or professional boxing. There was just boxing. See what I'm saying? I think unification is good. I don't think globalization of sports is actually good, but I think unification somewhat, just for like the sport to have a standard set of rules, standard set of rounds, standard set of kind of protective gear that you're wearing, I think it's good. I mean, that's my take on it. Plus, I think that would also allow athletes to switch pro, with little training after they finish their amateur career. Let's put it this way. So I think, to me, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Okay. And if you wish to comment on this controversy in the Olympics, man versus woman, do you have any opinion on that?
Yeah, I'm an old guy. I'm an old school Slav. I'm 46 years old. So in my time, there was no Olympic boxing with female athletes involved. There are great female boxers, and I believe this is a great sport. I think it's a good thing for female boxing that female boxing is now a part of Olympic Games. But I was really disgusted with the side of, female kind of noses being broken and like, because it's a mismatch. I don't like mismatches in any sport. See what I'm saying? You can understand what I'm saying. I mean, it's an obvious mismatch. Even, whatever blood tests they're doing, and stuff, I believe, a genetic female, and right now, like I'm gonna be thrown like, rotten garbage at me, but the genetic female should go against the genetic female. The genetic male should go against the genetic male. That's kind of, one part of the mismatch is taken care of. And, on the athletic level, let the best win. So it's,
and thank you very much, Slava, for your time.
Thank you for the
conversation.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.